Hey! How is everyone? Welcome to SessionWell. This is our, what number podcast is this?
It's number 10.
Number 10!
Yay!
We made it into the double digits!
Nice.
So we have a really cool podcast going on this evening. We are going to be talking about academics and emotions. My name's Adam Luke. I'm an associate marriage and family therapist. I've been doing therapy for about 4.5 years now, and this is Judy Yen.
Hi, I'm also an associate marriage family therapist. I've been doing this since 2012, so like 6 years. That sounds like a really long time. But yep.
5.5. You haven't hit your 6 yet.
This is true. In January.
So SessionWell, what this is we created a podcast so basically everyone can check in. Whether you're a therapist, whether you're pre-licensed to being a therapist, everyday folk. We actually have some incredible individuals with us this evening. I'm going to let Judy kick that one off.
Yeah, so we're super excited because this is our first time that we're having a non-therapist guest. And so these are basically people that I've known for a really long time. So two of them are teachers. We've been teaching together for over 10 years. And so they just have a lot of great insight about teenagers and their emotions and just all the different things that come with being an adolescent, like in high school. And then we have one of my students that graduated a couple years ago. And he's first of all, it's really weird because he's the first like student or ex-student who's ever been in my home. So that's like kind of weird, but he's awesome. And we've kept good relationships. And so he's here too to kind of just give us a viewpoint from an adolescence. Because like we're all adults and so we have our opinions, but to have an actual adolescent here to kind of share his journey and his emotions and what high school was like and what it's like to be a teen, we just thought would be really helpful. So this is...
Hi, I'm Tara Filowitz, and I've been teaching for 13 years. I'm a language arts teacher. I got into language arts because I have a theater degree, and been still waiting to teach theater someday. I'm also a TEDx coordinator for our school, and I have a unique perspective of not only teaching high school, but my son is 23. So I've lived through raising a high school student as well as teaching high school students. So.
And I also had him too as a student.
That was fun.
That was interesting. To have like your really good friend's son be in your class, like that was interesting.
Good times.
Yeah.
Wow. So like parent-teacher conferences were like Friday nights.
Or it was like, Tara, can I punish him? Yes.
How bad?
Whatever you need to do.
It was like back in conversation. I'm like,
100%.
so I'm gonna have to give your son a detention. Is that gonna be okay with you?
No problem.
Give him 2.
I'll give him 1 too also.
But it was fun.
Good times.
This
My
is?
turn?
Yes.
Yeah. My name's Aaron. I'm a junior attending UC Riverside, double majoring in psychology and public policy. Miss Yan was my AP psychology teacher, and Mrs. Schultz was my AP IB art history teacher.
And just so everyone knows, he is in fact our resident high school expert. So he is got the title. We can't wait for it.
And I think it's really funny that even though he's like an adult now, he still calls us Miss Yen.
I feel like it's weird to call you by your names.
It's Judy and Lauren.
I mean, I know, but...
Is it like Iron Man and Tony Stark? Like you wouldn't just walk up and say, "What's up, Tony Stark?" If he was in the Iron Man.
I feel like there's like still respect.
Yeah.
There should be, but like...
I still call my high school teachers Mrs.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
Like really
Huh?
weird.
Yeah.
Oh, let's be fair, I really kind of just call you by your last name. I'd be like, Yen.
Oh, that's
Schultz.
true.
Yeah, I kind of just dropped
I think
it.
we're casual. That
Yeah,
works
it's a little
too.
more casual.
Wow.
And then our last guys.
Okay, I'm Lauren Schultz. I teach ceramics and art history, just super fun. I've been teaching for 10 years, and I think my unique perspective is interesting because I have all types of students. I have the AP kids, I have the IB kids, I have the special ed kids, I have English language learners. Everyone is just meshed in one room, so that's kind of cool, and I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Perfect. All right, so we're just going to start off like we always do. It's basically just a conversation. So the reason why we were so stoked to have you guys here is because a lot of times from this end of the couch, we're working with kids and families and, how can we change, maybe get some more desired behaviors, or how do we help raise grades? And really we wanted to have you guys here because we wanted to have what's it like to be the teacher, right? Because that has to be extremely difficult. I have to say, first and foremost, thank you for what the three of you do and you experienced. But seriously, I think to really champion teachers, it's not an easy task because you have not only are you trying to equip a young mind, you're also dealing with the old minds that may or may not want to parent them. So we just wanted to have a conversation.
I think it's also a little difficult because not only do you have the kids in your class currently, but you have the kids who you've had before, and it's like when you do form bonds with kids, like you don't want to not be that safe place for them to fall when they need you. So it's like there's only so many hours in the day, and I think that's when you get 200 kids a year. And then 200 kids each year, so that's 800 kids in the school that and are coming to you as a potential resource. So it becomes a little daunting.
And you teach freshmen, so she gets them.
I teach freshmen and seniors, so it's like, but the freshmen get very, very attached.
I imagine they have a little bit of a culture shock, right? Because of coming into high school and just sort of being thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, well, and I teach. I only teach pre-IB freshmen, so I teach the kids who are coming from other schools also to our school. Okay. So for them too, it's like a big adjustment because they've made the jump and like their parents get really excited because I'm like nice and I seem like I'm fun.
I like that seem. I seem like I'm
like, yeah, it seems like that in the beginning. And then we get really into the work, and then they start to curse me under their breath. Or on Twitter.
Or on Twitter.
Fun. Yeah. Teachable moments.
Yeah. Do you have those? So you just have the mean tweets, basically.
I'm the only Tara Filowitz in the world. So
really?
Yeah, because Filowitz is not a common name. My grandfather changed it when he immigrated here from Poland after the Holocaust, and they didn't change it to their name. So I'm the only one. So if I go to Twitter and I type in Filowitz, it's either going to be about me, my dad, or my cousin. That's it.
Darn.
So when I see F you Filowitz, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, they did have to do an AP when she was.
Or they have the teacher, the ratemyteachers.com.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You to read those, it's just it's so uncomfortable because they're either pretty positive or it's I hate this teacher, they suck, they play favorites, blah blah blah. And it's just
Someone said that I rob kids of their innocence.
Oh my.
Wow.
That used to be a thing. My friends would always be like, "Did you see this rate on so and so at school?"
Really?
I'd be like, "Show me."
So you guys were into it.
I mean,
I
never wrote one, but
as a kid, well, yeah.
But I would read them, yeah, and especially when you're it's more useful in college, but in high school you'd still want to know what do people say about this teacher? Of course, most of them are so exaggerated. Yeah, at least in my experience.
And they block the sites on campus, so the kids
can.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You have to get to
That's
it on your
good.
phone.
So you have to remember it at home.
To go.
To still hate on you.
Or do it on your own data.
Yeah, that's true.
I really hate her.
Exactly.
I had one kid who I could totally tell. I was like, I know who that is. They're just mad about the grade I gave that.
Oh, that's terrible grammar. That's totally wrong.
That looks familiar.
Because you always misspell blank.
There's a few.
So what do you guys okay, so what are some of the issues that you have noticed or a trend that you've noticed in the last few years just in the populations that you guys see? Have you noticed any sort of increase in behavioral issues or academic challenges or peer pressure or stress or mental health issues?
Well, I think, remember in the meeting we were at, when our principal was talking about, or it was one of you, or maybe one of you, I don't remember.
I'm sure we're both there.
How
we talk.
How the AP and IB was getting a little too much for the kids, and some kids were getting suicidal or having a lot of emotional issues with it, and they kind of told us to maybe make our classes less homework and remember that our class isn't the only class they have.
Exactly. And that they're teenagers and that they need to have the space to have fun and to enjoy their lives.
Yeah.
I remember that.
But then they're like, but you better hit these educational goals.
Yeah.
And reviews are coming.
Exactly. We're going to,
Yeah, so it's hard as an educator to balance of yes, we understand that you guys have lives and that we need family time and friend time, but then we also have pressures from the district and the school and the state of being these are the goals that you need to make sure your kids meet. And so it's how do we do that? And so if it's hard on us, I don't know what it's like for you on your end receiving all the work that we give you.
Did it always feel
I
we were
always
all
thought,
at the same time?
or at least when I would talk to people and myself, I always thought it was kind of ironic how at the beginning of the year we'd always start, people would be like, I'm only gonna give you 100 in an hour of homework a night, and even though I could give you this much, and I'd be like, okay, but then it's okay, but in the end, everyone teacher's saying that it's 6 hours, 7 hours, and if you have 0 period and a 7th period, that's 8 hours, let's say, or 8 hours.
Yep.
it was a lot. So it always made me like, I mean, I get it, and yeah, you guys do have standards to meet, but it was always just kind of like one of those like, I mean, for me personally, because we do have lives, and you guys will always say you have to sleep, make sure you get sleep as well. My cutoff I'd be like 11:30, whether it's done or not. I would go to sleep.
Nice.
Does it really matter? Like the homework? I mean, are you guys just gonna?
I knew a lot of people who would stay up all night.
Oh yeah.
Like they would just
know.
not go to sleep and pull off an all-nighter.
Yeah,
but
kids will.
I would I just couldn't. I was like, at some point, like if I have to tell a teacher, I'm sorry, but you guys are telling me I should get sleep, but at the same time giving me so much homework, I'm gonna have to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's a good lesson in like in consequences. I mean, they're gonna prioritize our classes in different ways, and I frequently language arts gets told that we're down here after like
math,
science,
HL10,
physics,
right?
Really? You guys are down there?
Because in the past it's been sort of in some schools it's an easy class. So when they come to me, I'm just like, okay, and I got to get them ready for the next year because I know the next year is our two teachers who are really formidable, and I want them to be ready for them. I don't want them to be like not prepared. And like, I mean, one year I had a student who I lost a student, and I was a mess for the rest of that year. And I felt so guilty that was this year's seniors. I told them, I was like, I feel so bad. I feel like I haven't given you guys enough feedback. I will give you one essay where I'll give you feedback in the future. They're all coming to me for their college essays, right this week.
It's like this is the week.
Yeah, like, and they're all like, oh, and by the way, can I have a letter?
Oh yeah,
like that's due tomorrow.
You're dope. Teacher.
Or the kids who like don't tell you they're gonna ask you for a letter and just sign you up, and then all of a sudden you get an email from the thing.
Yes.
I'm like, wait, I never said I would write for him.
And the whole time they're sitting on Rate the Professor like, we can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Do you guys feel like you have power as students?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I never personally thought that I had power. Not that like, I don't know. I just felt like you're the teacher, I'm the student. It's just give and take. I mean, I'm really there for my benefit. I don't know. I never really thought.
Like there would be kids who would like be having panic attacks, like over talking to a teacher, and I would just be like, you gotta learn how to communicate with adults, otherwise you're gonna have a hard time in college.
Or like advocate for yourself.
Because they're so used to having these long-arm parents who have cleared everything out for them, so that it's like they have.
Yeah, because like we as teachers, like adults, like we make mistakes too. Like we have 200 of you every year, and so like if I misplace a homework assignment and then it shows up as missing, like I would hope that they would advocate for themselves and go, hey, I did turn that in. Why is it missing? But sometimes kids don't do that. But go ahead.
So in what I'm hearing from you guys, I'm hearing about that relational aspect where the parents have made it so easy that the kid doesn't have any ability to talk to adults. Well, and I see this sometimes as exactly, because I see this as a therapist sometimes when they bring their kids in, they're like, they're just a ball of anxiety, and then you find out this kid has just lived life through an iPad. Or everything has been handed to them to that point. And I understand like we want our kids to have easier lives than we did, but there's also like a point of like feeling the road, right? And letting them experience life. And it is that, hey, why don't you advocate? Or why don't you like talk to your teacher? But instead, like, so I've got a completely different perspective on this. I don't have kids, so I only listen to like my friends yell at their kids' teacher. But it's kind of interesting because I'll hear they're like, oh, this one teacher's driving me up the wall, and it's like, well, what is this teacher doing? And they're like, well, they're just upset that he's being disruptive or she's being disruptive or their homework's late and they should be the one taking care of it. And it's like, all right, we're watching the Rams game right now. And Tommy over there, he's been playing Fortnite for the last 4 hours, so I don't know if it's just a teacher. Like, I know we're going to bro code this up here, but it sounds like maybe you should be a little more in it. Where it almost feels like, no, everything should be catered to our kids.
I feel like you get that more, though, with the regular students. Like, I teach college prep seniors, and you get more of that with that, because they'll wait till the end of the semester and then be like, oh my god, what happened? Like, why is my kid not going to graduate? And it's like, well, they've done absolutely nothing all this, and like, I've told you, and you've not,
It's actually interesting, I don't know if you've ever thought about this. It is very hard to get an F. You have to literally do nothing to get an F in a class. And so it's always shocking to me. Like, it's fine if you get a C or like even a D, but it's like, how do you have a 15%?
Yeah.
You have to actively.
There's
Yeah.
1,000 points. You have 12.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what?
Like, how does that happen? And so, yeah, and it's just hard because, like, you know,
Like we can't force their hands
No.
to do the work.
exactly. Even,
Okay.
even if you just did like a quarter of every assignment we gave,
Yeah.
like,
But as
you
a,
would almost pass.
as a student, I just couldn't picture sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Like,
you have to be here for an hour a day anyway. Like,
Well, we
you're-
didn't have
what are you
phones though when
doing?
we were
That's so
growing
true.
up.
That's true.
Yeah, we had to like chisel it out. Raw. As our resident high school expert, though, I would like to go to you on this thing of like, did you hear friends like complain about getting bad grades when it was like, well, but you didn't do anything? Or, like, how do you look at this?
In
Like,
IB,
don't-
that never really happened. If anything, people would complain like, "I got a 98," and
Yeah.
that's just not
Okay.
right.
Uh,
But I mean, IB is just very,
Here's an
or in AP, it's
Yeah.
just a very different
Compet-
group of
yeah.
kids, and it's a lot more competitive. I was never really that competitive. I was just kind of like, I'm here. I made the
yeah,
cut.
you
Somehow I'm
you were
here.
enjoying yourself.
Yeah,
you enjoyed
He always
yourself.
seemed very relaxed. He didn't
Yeah.
really actually seem
His
stressed.
whole
Yeah.
high school experience is
Yeah.
coming through to me like Breakfast Club.
I mean,
like you're like yeah, you know they
I mean-
gave me the list.
was the impetus to do well given? Was it personal for you, or did your parents put it on you?
Well, my mom always wanted me to do well, but at least I think my 8th grade year, probably what was that, middle school, I told her, I was like, you know, you're kind of being like hardlining me really, really hard. This is my life, and I kind of need to,
Oh,
I need to
wow.
And she
experiment on my own.
listened?
If I fail, I fail. If I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
And she said, leave it to you then. So, I mean,
Okay.
she instilled it
Yeah.
in me, of course, but throughout high school, it was really just me pushing myself. I mean, not that she didn't care, of course, she would say, are you passing your classes? Like, are you
Yeah.
doing well?
Yeah.
Or if there were
But she
times
kinda
where I'd
took a
be,
backseat.
yeah.
That's good.
or if I was times that I was stressful and I'm studying for a test, or I did stay up late writing a paper, she'd be like, you know, are you sure that you want to keep doing this? Like,
Oh wow.
as long as, like, she cared. It was just
Yeah.
like, but I needed it to be like me, because it's my experience.
Yeah.
I was talking to a student today, who was he's a very smart guy, but he was saying like how he feels like he might go to college next year. He's a sophomore right now. He might go to college next year just because he's kind of bored in certain classes and he wants to start a company and he wants to do this and he wants to do that. And I'm like, that all sounds really cool, but it's also like he's so depressed that sometimes he can't get out of bed to come to school. And he's on different medications and stuff like that. And they're trying to find the right thing, and it's, you know, there's a lot to it, but he's a brilliant guy. So it's just like I feel like I need to find the right words to say to make him want to
Motivate
continue.
him
but
to-
I mean, I don't even know if that's the right path. Maybe his path is different. So it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to be the
That's
therapist as a teacher because I don't really know. I don't know what like when they come to you, it's different because they get like a 2-for-1.
Well, do you guys feel like as teachers or even as a student, like, do you guys feel like sometimes you are kind of almost doing therapy like with your students?
I feel like I do a lot with my former students. Like they come back a lot, and it's like I want to be there for them, and I am, but it's a lot because you take it home with you.
Yeah.
So what are some of the issues that you're like being presented with?
Mostly like anxiety and depression, a lot of that, and just not being good enough or like not hitting expectations that they thought they were. Like a lot of kids come into the school and the program with very, very high expectations, and when they don't hit Harvard, Princeton, Yale, or Stanford, then they're a failure in their eyes.
Oh,
Yeah, I've noticed a lot, and I always tell my APIB kids like right now is that when March hits and you get either the acceptance or the rejection, even when I just say that, they're all like, oh, and they all just like
Yeah.
start cringing, and I'm like, okay, it's just November, like it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But I always tell them like, please do a lot of self-care because like I've had multiple kids in March where they didn't get into their dream school. They still gone to perfect schools like, you know, like UC Riverside and Cal Poly Pomona
Yeah, amazing
and Long
schools.
Beach, but they didn't get into that one school they wanted to, and then they just completely stopped trying. They almost feel like their entire high school career has been a waste.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we,
Those are the most
like,
frustrating.
yeah, like how do we like, I don't know, like help, like you guys, I guess, like understand that like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I think it just depends on the person and the way they're brought up. I mean, I always knew I was going to get in somewhere. And that's just the way I looked at it. I was like, you know what? These are schools I
Yeah.
applied into. If they reject me, that's fine.
Get some-
I'm still great. I can still go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't too worried about it. I mean, I think that is something a lot of IB kids and AP kids, it's like, if I don't go to that school, you know, either I'm a failure, my parents are going to think I'm a failure, what am I going to do?
And they only have, you guys all take classes together, and
Yeah.
it's that little culture
Yeah.
where you just, it's like, it's so much anxiety. It's like, I feel it from them. And then I get like my college prep seniors who are like, they used to be the AP or the IB kids, but they have like clinical depression now.
Yes.
So they're in this class because it was too much, or they don't want to do AP this year. Or they,
Yeah.
So it's like, to balance that with like the kid who just came in to the country who barely speaks English, it's I mean, I don't know how to reach everybody.
And so, like, when I hear about these, especially when, like, I'll do a lot of phone consults before I'll sit down with kids and actually have them in my care. And I've heard that, like, everything that you were talking about of like, I know I was going to get in somewhere. I've had other parents be like, they're going to Purdue, or they're going to Harvard, or they're going to Stanford. And so you end up writing all these checks that your kid thinks that they have to cash, right? Mm-hmm. And so especially when parents are like, you're going there. I just personally, I know a story of a person that was basically like, I'm a legacy at USC. I'm going to do that. It didn't happen. And guess what? They turned out to be a perfect person. They've got a great job. They're happy in life. It's all good. But man, the fact that like everyone in my whole family has gone to this school but me. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I go from the parent side of like, again, why don't you help your kids say, yeah, that would be great if you get there. We're going to do everything to get there. But you've got 3 others, or you've got 4 others.
Because their parents are also coming at from a perspective of like, when they applied, it was a different time. And so it's
very much so.
Yeah,
right?
like college is like, I mean, the competition that you guys have is insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, I mean, it's
like I would never have gotten.
I know.
To,
Yeah,
I went to UCI. If I went to if I applied now to UCI with my scores, never would have gotten it.
I just don't know if I would have encouraged. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to encourage kids to even invest so much money in their undergrad when I know that like they're just gonna have to go to grad school.
Oh,
anyway.
nowadays you have to.
Yeah.
So, and like these kids, so I've tried to push kids towards to do like full scholarship programs as much as you can, even if they're not at the school that you know that marquee school, because you can go to that marquee school for grad school, and like they rest their whole future on that entrance,
right?
And it's not it.
That, or I love it when you then talk to the parents and they're like, oh yeah, I got a degree in let's say marketing, and then you find out that they're not doing anything in marketing, but their kid is like, I have to do this or I'll succeed. And it's like, yeah, but your parents didn't.
Yeah.
Your parents, they still survived.
Right.
And so, again, it's like, how do we, because it's the emotions.
But we get a lot of kids who are coming from parents who've immigrated, so their parents are breaking their backs to be here and to give them a good life. And they're also like getting, like, because a lot of our kids from these programs happen to be, Asian, and they're having to score even higher on the thing, and they're having to, it's so hard for them, and it's like, it's not fair. They're having such a hard time. It's hard to know how to deal with that as a teacher.
And it is increasing a lot of the anxiety and like the depression and the I'm not good enough. How to be unique, and then like how do I be what I want to be, but then like also be this thing that my parents want me to be, and then what society wants me to be, and what my friends all think that we're all supposed to be. And so it's just like you just get like a lot of like roller coaster emotions. But Lauren, you're like us too. We have more of like we have like the AP, the IB students, like honors kids. And I've taught college. We've both taught college prep too. But I've never really had it like Lauren, where she has all of them of all levels in one classroom. And so like, what's that like? And what have you seen?
I think it's hard for some of my students because, or a big majority at our school, because some of them don't want to go to college, and then our school's pushing go to college, and then I actually kind of got called out by another teacher because I told the student like, dude, you don't have to go to college, like get a job, work hard. Like my brother didn't go to college, that dude makes way more money than I do. And then I got called out by another teacher like, don't tell him not to go to college, and it's like, dude, it's not for everyone.
There's more than one path.
Like
vocational, like
trade schools are it's a thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't sit on your butt and do nothing, but it's not for everyone. And so I think that's also a balance that our school needs to take, and teachers, like, it's okay, don't be lazy, but find a different path. But
then you don't want to be that teacher who like stands in their way.
Yeah. So it's also, you kind of have to, I don't know, be the student, and
it's like a bad ABC special.
Yeah, and then and then I tell a lot of kids that I have, just go to junior college. Save your
Save
money.
money.
Go to junior
Or
college.
transfer wherever you want.
Transfer to wherever you want. Figure it out. You
Yeah.
know, take a few classes, figure it out, and then you don't have to decide right now.
Right.
You don't have to decide right now. Like
Yeah.
you're only 18 years old. Like
The only problem with that, like as a parent, like my son, he went to a junior college and he's in college
Yeah.
now, but it's like he's 23, he's been in and out.
Mhm.
So it was knowing that he didn't really have to take the SATs, knowing that he didn't have to,
Mhm.
he just had to graduate.
yeah.
That's what he did. So it was like there wasn't that impetus to do as well as possible, which would have served him better in junior college because you could skip
Yeah.
classes, you
Yeah.
could place higher and stuff like that. So it's kind of tricky to know like how hard to push, and like you're right though, like I don't think every
Is
kid
that like a parent? That's like, is that like my job to like,
exactly,
you know what I mean?
exactly, no, exactly. It's like the parent should be, and the best students are the ones who have parents who
yeah.
care.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Period.
I'm sorry, can you say that
The
again?
best students are the ones who have parents who care. They don't do the
Oh,
work
okay.
for them. They don't, but they care about them. Like
So teachers aren't parents.
no.
Oh, goodness
No.
gracious.
Yes, I tell them like I like you guys, but I have 2 kids and I gotta go home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like that's true, Erin? Like, do you feel like that sometimes? Who was I gonna ask? I was gonna ask you would you need like from us and your parents? Like when you were in high school, what did you need from teachers and parents? Were they the same thing? Were they different? Did you even need anything from us?
I don't know. I think they're more or less the same. I mean, in different ways, but it just really comes down to caring. Obviously, there's to a certain point, right? But then it's just about support and availability. And I think a lot of things that students forget about is that like teachers have lives, right? You don't live in your classrooms. You go home.
We
So
try to
it's
go
like-
home.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Miss
Yes.
Ann has like graded pretty late into the night.
Oh yeah, so have you lately too?
Uh,
Or like through my lunch break.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Always
remember
do.
Boundaries,
Yeah.
boundaries.
Yes, I know. There's always kids in my classroom, which
Yeah,
is really fine. I
always,
mean, like
yeah.
for the most part, but there's always kids in there.
Because you want a safe spot
There's like,
yeah,
for them
there's
to
like a
go.
line of
Exactly.
kids
Yeah.
after school that I have to have like conferences with about their lives. And
Yes.
their essays, especially these essays.
And then like my actual conference, which is like your
Yeah.
free period to like make copies, to grade papers. It's like no, usually there's a kid in there that we're talking to or anything like that. Like I one time even saw a girl. She was sitting by herself and she was like crying
Oh, yeah.
at the lunch
Oh,
table. Tara's had this before too. Literally no idea who this kid is, and I've gone up to her like, hey, like, do you want to come into my room and just like sit in there for a little bit? And she's like, oh, I would love to. And she comes in, she just I don't know who she is. But she just cries it out, and it's like okay, like I didn't have to talk to her, but just providing that space for her.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like the questions of, you know, like where is your support system? You know,
Well, it's
are
like
we
how
doing?
involved do we really want
Right.
to get? Because
Yeah.
I don't have to start calling. What do you have to call?
CPS.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
or
talk to,
like,
yes.
Yeah. Or
like how like
Or
not
the
to be
intermediary
mean, but
with
like,
Right, you don't know. Yeah.
like, I don't really want to get myself in some weird situation.
yeah.
But do you feel like
I
you
think
guys?
like just making the connection that like, hey, I believe in you. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's at least a teacher should be at most a teacher's role.
Yeah.
Like, I believe in you. You know, if you need someone, I can help you, or I can help you find the resource for that if I can't do it myself. But of course, you always have to keep that boundary because in the end, you are the teacher, and at the moment, they're the student.
Yeah.
right.
With like 38 kids in a class, like, do you find it difficult making that personal connection with your teachers?
Did you even like care about the person or think about?
Um,
I didn't talk to any of my teachers growing up.
I
think
really
didn't.
either. Maybe one.
They
There's
just
one I
taught
still
me,
remember.
and that
She's
was
awesome.
it. I
I
never
think
needed.
it really just, at least for me,
I
it
was always
depended
different.
on the subject and the teacher.
Oh,
Because,
okay.
I mean, yeah, you're the teacher, and maybe I don't know your personal life, but I can gauge what kind of person you are, and do I want to make the effort to,
Isn't
like,
that the truth?
do I want to make the effort to, you know,
When there's
not
definitely
just,
kids that gravitate towards you and kids who
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
gravitate towards too because you're like, oh, you're fun.
And then 2 years later,
That's
he's,
why I'm
he's
here.
in my house. You're
Here I
a
am.
person. Cool.
I mean, but I think that's just, like, just when making friends or getting to know
Yeah.
anyone, it's just, I mean, maybe if you hate a subject, maybe, like, predisposed to not like a certain teacher, but I mean, like, you can get through it.
Is there anything that you want teachers to know?
Anything that I want teachers
Yes.
to know?
I have a
Oh,
question.
gosh.
All the teachers listen. Like, what would you want teachers to know? Like, as an adolescent, having been in high school and taking high-level classes, what would you want us as teachers to know?
Oh god, that's such like a hard question. I don't.
Did you feel like you were on equal footing with your teachers? Or did you feel like they had like subservience over you kind of?
I personally felt like that. Yeah, not in a bad way though. I just felt like they're my teachers. Like I should. They're my boss at the moment. They're I give them a respect. I do as I'm told. I learn. I do my homework. I turn in stuff. I mean, it's more than that. It's more than that, but
Because that was your job. Your job was to go to
Yeah.
school and
that's
do your work.
that's it. I mean,
And a lot of kids don't get that. Like, dude, this
But-
is your job right
But
now.
a lot of
Go
kids,
to school.
A lot of kids,
But be on time.
But a lot of kids, it's not their only job. A lot of kids, it's
Yeah.
also they're also helping to watch
That's
their
true.
siblings.
Yeah.
They're also going to their own job. They're also because their parents don't prioritize school because we have
Yeah.
a lot of different populations.
Yeah, but when
You're
they're
just
with
taking
right,
care
but I think
workers,
it's
right?
like where you are in that.
Oh,
moment.
sorry about that.
yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like I'm at school. I should be present.
yes,
You're taking the time to try and teach me and better myself
Yeah.
for the future. I should at least have the respect to listen, take your advice, and and try and learn.
Like, you chose the classes.
I also in high school
for
you
our
choose
class,
classes
for our-
too.
yeah.
I chose the that's true.
Yeah,
I did
they
choose
don't
It's not
the
like you,
classes.
but like.
they have to take me.
The gatekeeper.
And apparently, I steal innocence.
It's okay.
I don't know. I just think
There's something you wish you could have said while you. Not to name specific, but like
to this teacher, let me just call you up right now on Facebook.
Soapbox.
I did not know him in high school.
I don't know. I just think my experience, like when people talk about like their high school service was terrible. I just personally, I mean, I empathize, but I can't understand it just because I don't know. First of all, being an IB culture, it's very secluded. Most people come from the same background, so I always just felt like, yeah, like my teachers like me. They're okay. Like it's fine. So I didn't think there was anything I really needed to tell my teachers. I mean, what am I gonna say? Less homework, please. Like we're in AB and IB.
No, that's like.
We're in
legit,
we're in AP and IB classes. Like you're there expected to do the work.
Do you feel like we ever, like just in general, like teachers ask too much of you guys?
No, I never thought that. I mean, it's hard work, and you do have to put in the time to not just learn the material, but if there's especially IB or AP studying for the tests, writing the papers. But I mean, I never thought it was just like too much. It's just
Did it make you feel well prepared for college?
oh yeah, definitely. That's like when everyone asks me about IB, I'm like, okay. I mean, love and hate, but learning how to write papers, I mean, like it's just so easy. Going into college, like
Did you take an AB Hug?
that was the one class that I actually ended up dropping. That was my freshman year. That class, that's one class where I would stay up all night. I would have my mom read the book with me, and even she couldn't even get it. So I would go to class just with that anxiety.
They're moving away from it.
Are they?
They're moving it more into they've started moving from AP Hug human geography into AP Comp Sci
Okay.
principles. So it's been but the analytical writing has
What did you say about your anxiety? Like, what was that anxiety like?
It was just overwhelming. I just felt, and that's where probably one of the few times I felt like, oh my god, like maybe I'm a failure. Like, can I not do IB? Because first of all, a lot of people who are going to IB, a lot of them come from Kramer. I came from Yorba Linda Middle. There were probably maybe a couple other people who came from that school, and so it's like you don't know anyone. It's a new school. You're in the IB program. That's great, and then this class was so overwhelming. I mean, I even met with, Mr. Maevich, and then of course my mom was there, and he was like, don't worry, like, it'll get better, like, you should try it. But in the end, I was like, I can't be staying up all night and then coming to class with all this dread of fearing of getting called on and not knowing the answer, feeling like I don't know anything.
I had a kid who would have seizures in his class, and I would not make it to my class because he had him second and I had him fourth. And he would have seizures, like, because he was so nervous in that class. Like, it was
a stressful class.
So how do you handle,
it was a college level class.
It was hard, and it was my first, that was my first. That one, so I ended up having to drop it. I said, you know what, in the end, I need to do what's best for me.
Smart.
Good.
If I can still stay in IB, if that's great. If I can't, and this is like really the make or break for IB, well then obviously it's not meant to be, and that's fine.
And you had your mom's support.
Yeah, I mean, she really did help me. I mean, she stayed up all night reading the book over and over. I'm just like, I can't get it. Do you get it? She's like, I don't understand it either. And I'm like, oh God, I can't get it. I can't get it. So what am I supposed to do?
So then, what would your
explain considering what you want to do for your job?
Yeah.
Do a steady population.
So how do you
Yeah, in a way.
How would you like what would your advice be then to like just other teenagers or parents or teachers like how do you, because I'm sure you're not the only kid that's ever been like, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, am I the only one not getting it, am I gonna fall, and so like how do you battle those like negative cognitions?
I think it's just, you just have to somehow you have to put it aside and really just reflect and like, what do I need to better myself? Because in the end, you have to take care of yourself. And I think a lot of these kids, they forget that. Of course, there are pressures from society, pressures from teachers, pressures from parents that I have to do this. I cannot not be this, or else I'm just gone. You have to really take a second and think, like, what do I want to be? Do I need this? Am I taking care of myself first? Because as much as school is important, yeah, it should be or is your job at the time, you do have to take care of yourself. I mean, how else are you going to get through life if you can't recognize when you're not well?
Right. And as a parent, I think it's important to, when a kid comes to you with that kind of fear, to not react with anger. I think that's our first reaction sometimes is like, well, come on, get it together. And when you kind of meet them with anger, they shut down. And so then they stop coming to you, and then it becomes this whole like, so it's like, it's hard not to react to that anger, but I think if you can, I think that's where a lot of it comes from for parents, because we're like, what the heck, we're killing ourselves for you. But then if you can, and you could be more nurturing about it, it's ideal, I think.
It's interesting because like studies have shown that the way kids display certain emotions is so different from adults. Like a lot of parents see a teen's like attitude or tone, or they see it as rudeness or having a bad attitude, or it's like, why are you just being such a teenager? But a lot of times those symptoms, like the underlying issue is depression, is anxiety, and it's a lot of fear and like a lot of hurt and like not feeling like they're understood. But kids don't really know how to regulate that as much because just their chemistry isn't quite fully developed as an adult. And I think sometimes adults, whether it's a teacher or a parent, we misread those signals and we just like, it's just another teen.
Yeah.
But it's really about, like what's really going on for you.
Because you get those kids who can conduct themselves like adults who are teens. So it's like you think like, oh, they should all be like that, but they're not.
It's like it's
abnormal.
reverse manipulation, right? So as adults, we're great at manipulating our emotions to get the reaction we want from someone else. Where kids are not like that.
No, it's unregulated.
And so we keep teaching them the wrong things, right? Because when they do display that they're upset, we then snap at them.
Right.
Instead of being like,
else.
oh, I can see you're like, are you frustrated? What's going on? Let's talk this through. So when I sit with parents that are like, oh, well, they're doing this or whatever, and it's like, oh, well, what do you say? Well, I tell them to stop being a brat. Cool. How's that work?
All these names.
It's like punching yourself in the head and wishing you didn't have a headache.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you look at most kids, now adolescents, if you look at a history of behavioral issues, if you look at talking back, if you look at missing school, lots of absences, not turning in homework, like lack of work completion, no friends, isolation, all of those behavioral things that we think are very typical teenager stuff, it's not though. A lot of it, if you look at like the truancies, the fighting on campus, the drug use, if you go deeper with it, there's always something else that's happening.
Major depression, anxiety. I mean, and it's sad because a lot of times we'll look at kids again who, as you're saying, oh, they're always sick, or, they're always running late. This is just a problem, kid. And it's like, well, no, maybe running late is that kid's like at least getting to school, right?
Yeah.
Because they are fighting all these external pressures. I mean, we're talking about kids that are raising their siblings as well. You were highlighting.
As a teacher, though, like, you'll talk to that kid. Like, well, that kid is showing up late every day. It's like, hey, what's going on? And they'll be like, it's my mom. She can't get me here. And I'm like, it's cool. I want my guitar. Like, if it's like something that can be like, I understand. But if it's like they're just like walking in late with their coffee.
They walk their girlfriends to classes.
Yeah. I'm like, she's not worth it. Like,
she's not. You won't be together.
But they probably will.
I would say that you're the exception though as a teacher, because I can.
But it's not. I mean, I'm not nice all the time.
No, to certain kids, I get it.
Yeah.
No, but it is the truth though that I think even as therapists, there are some teachers that might need to check themselves for burnout. Like,
for sure.
I don't think any teacher wakes up as a master's level student trying to get an educational credential and says, I can't wait to be the worst teacher in the world. I don't think that happens, right? But there are people who enter it and then they don't realize when maybe they're doing more harm than they are good.
I had a gut check moment a few years back because I had a student who was a favorite of mine, and then he would come back every day the next year and he would visit me. But, he was like, he didn't have a mom, and so like I was like his mom sort of. And one day he'd come in and I was like, oh, I can't talk to you right now. I'm giving you a test. And then like the next day I came in and he had fallen off a building and he was dead. So it was like, and from that moment I was like, I need to take time, like, and not have that happen again. So for me that was that, but I don't think every teacher has that.
Because I think that, yeah, I just think it's really hard to be so intentional with every kid when you do have 200 to like 800 kids in a day and we have our own lives.
Wow.
But I do also think that sometimes, yes, it is their job. Like as a student, like as an adolescent, your job is to be in school. But aside from that, they are similar to us adults in the fact that, you know what, they have other things.
Mm-hmm.
Their parents are getting a divorce, which is out of their control.
Mm-hmm.
They have a loss of a loved one. Someone just got diagnosed with something.
Mm-hmm.
They have to now get an extra job because their family can't support them. So now they have to be the financial, person. And so I think sometimes like we don't really give kids like the time to like have fun and to just be a kid. But it's so hard too because I don't really know how to how do we fix that? How do we like bridge the gap between like parents, students, teachers, and it's like, what do we, and we're asking so much of you. You guys need to graduate, and you need to go to college, or if you want to go to college, and it's just like
wonderful people.
Right. It's so hard because you do see, the kid that wants to talk to you, and they want to come in at lunch, but then like you're like, I have 1,000 things to grid, or I'm going through my own issues, and it's just like, I don't know, like I tell my teenagers this, I hope they know this, I tell them all the time, like, I'm so impressed by what you guys do, because never again will you ever have to go to a job that 6 to 7 adults tell you when you can go to the bathroom, when you can eat, when you can speak, you must raise your hand when you talk. Like never again will that ever happen to you except for in this life stage. In addition to you doing that, you're also super hormonal and brain chemistry is all over the place. So like I'm just impressed that you're here. Like thank you for being here. And so I
saying that probably means a lot to them.
Well, I hope so. I mean, like, hopefully they all survive it. So it's like, yay. But, but that's the thing. It's like
a lot of them reference you as like someone who they really value and like respect and like look up to.
I love my kids. They're all really good. They're like they're all gonna be my home one day.
All of them, just right here.
But it's like
boundaries. Anyways,
but with Aaron, like, if there's like as the teen, like. If there's any advice you can give to another teen who's like struggling with anxiety, depression, pressures from home, stress, because stress is at an all-time high. Like teenagers are reporting more stress than adults actually.
Stress is hard.
Really? Like what would just be your encouragement?
Find someone to talk to. Find something that will help you. If that's a person, if that's a pastime that can let you decompress. For me, I'm extrovert, so I like talking to people. So someone that I can talk to, anyone who'll listen.
Did you do social media?
Social media.
Was it a negative or a positive? Like you just didn't do it. Was that better? Or
like am I on social media like that?
Yeah, like was it something that was valuable or negative?
I mean, I don't want to say negative in like it's bad, but I wasn't like a huge like social media person. I have Facebook, but like no one uses Facebook anymore. And I have Snapchat, but like I really only use that to like save my memories. But so I really wasn't like spending hours upon hours like, oh my god, this person doing this, they look like the perfect life, comparing myself to others and thinking like, look at this person who's gone to Harvard, how could I not if they did? So I mean, such like a blanket statement, but everything in moderation. But I was never really like social media is not like a huge thing for me.
So basically what I'm hearing is that just tell all the teens out there, like find something that brings you joy, that can help you decompress.
Yeah.
Just find something.
It's based in reality.
And to teachers and parents, just like understanding. Try and remember like, well, how was high school for me? Like, yeah, maybe it was a long time ago, but like, how was high school? And especially like my mom immigrated here, and yeah, it's like you have that experience and it's harder. So of course, you want your kids to like, you were born here, like you have so many more advantages than I did because I had to work for it. You have to forget like it's a different time. It's hard, and you have to remember like it's their life, it's their experience. You can't always like project like, God, if I was in your position, this is what I would be doing. It's like, but remember, it's not like
so true.
Yeah.
And Lauren, do you have any advice, just like I don't know, like to other teens or to parents or to other teachers, or just how do we get adolescents to be able to live this life well? I guess.
Come on, Lauren. What's the key to life? Figure it out. Come on.
Tara too.
How do we make more errands?
I don't know.
But I mean, I don't know, Tara.
Well, I think Lauren lives her passion, which is good. Like, I think you give kids creative outlet with what you do.
I mean, yeah, because I
Which is
teach
huge.
I teach an easy class. Let's be honest.
It's not, but no, it's not. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
And I have kids who have you who sometimes that's the only thing that they've actually done really well, and they really are proud of themselves for doing that. So don't undervalue what you
I'm
do.
not undervaluing it, but
She does.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's a hard class. I couldn't.
like,
I'm not
my
creative.
brain
Yes,
doesn't
I'm
work
not
that way.
creative.
No, I freak
Right.
out.
You'd be saying, Aaron, make something. You make anything. I'd be like,
Just tell me.
oh my god,
Right.
just tell me something and I'll make it.
Give
Yeah.
me a template and I'll make
Give me a
it.
template, sure. And then I'll do
I
it.
freak out when the kids stand up to like when the bell rings. I'm like, no, sit down. Like it's too much. Like, I'm doing too many things. Sit. Okay.
Well, like, so
Your guests are
I
everywhere.
just met you,
Yeah.
but when we were talking before the podcast went off, you were absolutely, they nailed it with the passion, but also your creativity, right? And I think that even when I try to go back into my own experience, even though it's not everyone's experience, I get it, Aaron, but the teachers who were more creative than they were cynical and critical, ended up being the bigger movers and changers in my life, right? Because through creativity, we can always change bad things into good, right? But when we cut creativity out, then we have nothing to offer. And all we can do is like, it's wrong. Well, that's great. How do I make it better? And so especially when you're starting from nothing, you're making something.
Yeah, I do have a lot of those students who are like, am I doing it right? Did I do it? Is it good? Like, dude, yeah, man, you did the project. Good job. Big fun. And they're like, no, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, did you have fun? Yeah, cool. Did you follow directions? Yeah. That's it, man.
Because in my class, I'm like, if the paper's not turned the right way when you hand it to me, I'm giving it back to you because I'm not flipping over 200 papers.
This paper doesn't smell.
No.
Yeah, it's over. No glitter.
Put it in the right way.
No, but I mean, that's a scary thing, right? We're developing young minds who don't even know if they can do fun right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is scary.
That is
That
scary.
is
I
very
didn't think of it
scary.
like that.
Like
Yeah.
oh, is it right?
Yeah.
How about, do you like your life?
No, they're so
Like-
scared of being wrong that they
Have fun.
and they
Enjoy.
live these cookie cutter existences, and then when it comes time to apply for college, like they're like, oh, you're boring.
Oh, yeah.
It's so, because this is the paradigm I sit in, is we tell every kid they're unique, and then we tell every kid be the same.
Right.
Oh well, they tell us every
How
kid.
the hell do I do that?
They
Yeah.
tell us every kid is different. Every kid has a different learning style. Teach every kid like they're an individual. But here's 38. Go.
And you're getting reviewed.
Yes.
Like, if they all don't get A's, you're reviewed.
Well, they
like,
don't care so much about the A's, but they don't want us giving too many F's.
No F's.
okay.
Yeah, we have to value those.
So how about your takeaway?
I think a lot of it is just finding something that you care about that you can enmesh yourself in. Like for me, it was definitely theater because I went to an arts high school, so I got to do that. But I was also like, I was super fat in high school, and I was not like that social butterfly. But I talked a lot, and I had friends. I was funny and I was smart, so it worked. But it wasn't like I wasn't like super into the romance thing. I think if kids can kind of avoid that, it tends to work out better for them too. Because I find that when kids start to get too heavily enmeshed in these romantic entanglements, they forget what the heck they're doing in life.
Yeah.
I second that.
So I try to tell
But
kids,
don't date in high school.
I try to tell kids,
Or
hold
don't
out
make it
kids-
so serious.
Well, and hold out till college, because that's when you're going to meet kids who've been, vetted as being smart.
I think,
Oh my god.
So that's my takeaway. And love all kids, but from a distance, because
There you
not
go.
like that.
Yeah,
Because we like
exactly.
our jobs.
Boundaries
Boundaries.
and tenure.
Boundaries
So-
and tenure.
We always go through some of the comments that we've gotten, and one of the comments that really stood out was from Liz Ramirez.
Oh, I
Okay.
had her. Another student of mine.
So you guys are
Right.
literally describing my high school experience right now. I believe teachers really have a huge influence on their students. For many, their teachers are the only people they can talk to.
Oh,
And then she hit off with, thank you guys for being so open to speaking to your students and showing support to them.
Aww.
So,
I'm all teary.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. I got a post-it note from a kid that said thank you. I was like, oh my god.
Oh, that's the best.
I'm keeping this forever. I'm
Yeah.
taking photo of it.
Exactly.
Aw,
I'm not
so
crying.
weird.
It's really dusty.
I
District
just-
cutbacks.
No, we can't afford tissues. We just can't afford
I know,
tissues.
it's fire-
Fires and stuff.
Well, so as also being our first awesome guests who are not therapists, we also wanted to gift you with some stuff from therapymerch.com.
I love merch.
Lauren's already been drinking out of hers.
Yes.
And so again, thank you everyone who looked in on us, viewed. I was seeing there was a lot of activity. I appreciate the comments again. Thank you guys,
on a
so
school
much.
night. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
We all
for
have to
having
work
us.
tomorrow.
It was great. We said we were going to do 30 minutes. It's been an hour. So we've all got to go. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Next week we won't be doing a Thursday night because
Oh,
it's
yeah, happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
So be thankful that you have family. Be thankful that you have a home. Our hearts go out to everyone who's lost stuff in the fire and everything else that's been happening this month. So take time to appreciate yourself, your loved ones, and the life you live. So thank you guys
Thank you
so much.
guys.
Thank you for
Have a
having
great one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.